Sten, we're alive.
And that was Larry, the Liberty Guy's voice you heard right there. Thank you, Larry. Welcome back to In the Dugout. I am your host, Mike Stenhouse. Fulfilling our tradition, we're going to be talking with a veterans group today, which I'll explain in a minute. I'm not a veteran, but I'm going to wear a hat that's the closest thing I've got to that. It's a hat for the USS Ronald Reagan. Bought that when I visited Reagan's library some years ago. All right, so having said that, today, very interesting show. We're going to start off, I'm going to take you through just a few minutes. Tomorrow we're going to do it in more detail, but I'm going to take you through some of the spin around or talk around the Transportation and Climate Initiative report, the issue, and a report our center put out yesterday. We're going to go through that report in more detail tomorrow, but right now, but today we'll give you a little update and give you a couple related issues to that I think are interesting, if not ironic. We got two sets of guests today. Our friend, two major topics to discover after that. The first topic is this Barrington Flag controversy. Black Lives Matter flag being flown by town hall against the wishes of many of the Barrington residents, but of course endorsed by the entrenched political officials in the town. So we're going to be talking about whether that flag should be flown in a space that's co-owned with a local veterans group. It's quite a controversy in town. It's made the news a number of times. There have been protests. There's been rallies. There's been back and forth, and in the debate, something very interesting ensued that we're also going to talk about in just a minute. The town manager there is claiming that flying the Black Lives Matter flag and having the right to do so is a form of government speech. I want you to think about that. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then we're going to end our show. Our final segment today, around 4:35, 4:40, will be with a representative, a state representative from Johnson and Providence. I think it's District 13, Representative Ramon Perez. You're going to hear his very personal, heartwarming, sad story about his would-be baby and why he is sponsoring a legislation called the Born Alive Infant Protection Act. So we'll be joined by Representative Perez in about 30-35 minutes. Tomorrow, as we said, Thursday, we will spend first portion of the show taking you through in some detail the Transportation and Climate Economic Impact Report our center released yesterday. And I'm going to touch upon that a little more. But of course, tomorrow, as with all Thursdays, Dr. Andrew Boston is scheduled to be with us to talk about all things COVID, vaccines, data rates, what's going on nationally, your questions. Great guest he is, a regular guest on Thursdays with us. Okay, so yesterday, our center, a lot of people forget, or don't realize that our center is a think tank. And as a think tank, it's our job to publish research and not just provide advocacy and do outreach like we're doing here on the show, but to actually publish research when appropriate. And we've done a number of reports over the years. So yesterday, with our research being done by the Beacon Hill Institute, which is another conservative think tank, or at least I should say a free market think tank in Massachusetts, who's done a lot of experience analyzing taxes and analyzing energy. They're experts in areas that can do modeling and projections where we can't, so we commissioned them to do a report for us, and it was entitled "The Effects of a TCI-Style Gas Tax on Rhode Island." And the Transportation and Climate Initiative, just to remind you, you may have heard of RGGI, the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. That is where many, I can't remember, 8, 9, 10 northeastern states got together and said, let's try to control how much carbon emissions there are from electricity. And let's put in together what is essentially a cap and trade system. We'll only have so many allowances being available, and then companies can bid to buy those allowances. These are power energy plants can buy those allowances to be authorized to produce electricity. But of course, as the number of allowances gets smaller, the price of those is going to go up. So this is an attempt to control our lives. Reggie is through electricity cap and trade system, limiting the amount of energy, electric we can have, and raising the cost of it for what we do have. It's just a basic supply and demand model. Well, now they're trying to do the same thing with gasoline. Of course, driving cars, the left, the liberal, the environmental radicals hate cars. They think it's the largest, it's the number one factor that's going to destroy our world and cause you and me to become incinerated someday or flooded to death or something like that. They want to do everything they can, the left does, to stop us from driving cars. So they've come up with this scheme called the Transportation and Climate Initiative, which is a cap and trade system for gasoline. Translated, that means they want to put a tax on gasoline to try to disincentivize you. They want to make it so expensive to drive your car that they disincentive that you drive less. And if you drive less, you'll put less carbon emissions in the air and the world will be saved. Now, let's be serious, folks. As we show in our report, which we'll go through in more detail tomorrow, you think of China, a major polluter. Do you think minimal cuts in Rhode Island driving emissions will have any impact on world global climate change? Tiny little state, there's big country, massive countries like India and China who are just polluting like crazy. So this is silly. This is nothing but a money grab. I've said it. And in fact, I was quoted in the paper today, which I'll show you right here, right here, being nothing more than a pure greedy money grab. This is not about environmentalism as much as they want you to think it is. It's about money to advance their green agenda, make their special interest people there with their hands out happy. So we got a major headline today at the top of the I don't know what page it was, page 4 or 6 of the Journal. But top of the page, Rhode Island's leading conservative advocacy group. We tend to call ourselves a free market advocacy group, but we'll take conservative. And of course, the article really almost criticizes us for putting out a report. How dare we, when there's so many environmental groups that they talk about in the article are supporting it? But that's okay. We'll take it. We'll take the positioning and whatnot. What's ironic about this is that, well, first of all, our report shows, and again, more detail tomorrow, but our report shows that this is going to, as you can see over here, the economic impact of artificially raising gas prices is going to cause jobs, it's going to cause business investment, it's going to cause loss of disposable income for families, $1,200 a family in 5 years once they start getting really into the increases that we expect them to see. And again, as you can see here, almost 1,900 jobs across the state will be lost. They lie to you about this, the TCI people. They say the goal of TCI is to reduce emissions by 26%. Well, do you know that in their own memorandum, and those are just carbon emissions in Rhode Island or in the region, I should say. But do you know that in their own report, they say that even without TCI, just the technology and innovation that America companies do, whether it's fracking, which is far less polluting and far less carbon than traditional drilling, that carbon emissions are going to reduce in the region by 19 or 20% anyway. And that their plan might only increase or reduce carbon emissions by another 5 to 6%. So they're lying when they're trying to take credit for the 19 to 20% emissions that are already going to happen whether or not we do TCI or not. So whenever a group has to lie, then there's something up there. One of the interesting things about a report yesterday was it came out in the same day that Gina Raimondo, our governor, for maybe another week or so, was testifying at her hearing to become United States Commerce Secretary. And, she's taking failed policy that has caused Rhode Island to have the worst business climate in the nation. And apparently, if I read between the lines here properly, she's planning to bring that same failed anti-business, anti-jobs, costly, cost to American pockets agenda to Washington, D.C., and for the rest of America, just to blindly follow the green agenda. Again, with the Democrats, it's about agenda. It's about special interests. It's not about you. It's not about me. It's not about the American people. It's not about putting America first. It's not about putting you first. It's about putting their agenda first, because there's so many special interests they are beholden to who are dependent on that agenda. So Governor Raimondo apparently said yes. Now, I didn't see it, so I'm relying on these third-party reports here. But apparently she said she's open to raising taxes in order to fund the climate change agenda. Now, that's what she's trying to do in Rhode Island with the transportation, with the TCI gas tax. She's trying to raise taxes to fund the climate change agenda, to fund the special interest agenda. And now she signals she's open to that nationally, which would be of all the things Biden's going to do to crush businesses, if he raises the minimum wage, adds regulations back in, adding an energy tax on every family and every business, you guys can figure it out. But one of the interesting things that, again, you might not remember, and you can see it down here in the bottom if you can read that. But Raimondo is so, and the left are so money greedy. They even sued. We talked about this on our show over the summer. They even sued oil companies. Kind of like the same. Remember when certain groups sued cigarette companies for knowingly marketing cigarettes and not telling people the potential harms? Okay, fine. Well, they're trying to make that same argument here, that oil producing companies are hiding the fact of the extensive damage that this pollution is doing around the world. And therefore, they want the same multi-billion dollar settlement. So Rhode Island was the only state to actually sue oil companies. This is how greedy they are for money. It's not about environmental. They want money for their agenda. It says it right here. It says it right in that image I showed you. They want money, whether it's raising taxes or suing companies, to fund their climate change agenda. So just a little bit about, so you get a sense as to how this transportation and climate initiative kind of fits into everything and what else is going on out there. All right, I want to segue, and before we bring in our guests, let me just give you a little background on what's going on in Barrington, Rhode Island. Now, it's a story that's been long in the making. And not too long ago, you can see, I don't know if that's the actual flag, I imagine it is, but the town of Barrington decided to fly, during the summer, with all the craze from the riots, all the mania about Black Lives Matter and social justice and all that. The town of Barrington, pretty much the town manager on his own, I should say, decided to join in the mania and to show Barrington's support for Black Lives Matter and put up a flag on their Barrington flagpole. Well, it wasn't just any flagpole, as it turns out. Not only is it the town flagpole, that would have been one thing, but this is a flagpole that's kind of co-managed. We'll get some details on that in a second, by a group called Rhode Island United Veterans Council of Barrington. And veteran space, as well as it's a town space. And they weren't consulted on it. and they don't agree with it. So there has been a, Black Lives Mania craze in the town of Barrington. There was another incident, a racial equity incident regarding a former doctor you may have read in the news, Dr. Gordon, that really heightened a lot of sentiment around all related racial, social justice issues. But then, there are marches, there are social media demands for the BLM flag, and of course, giving in to the pressure from the left. The town manager, a gentleman named Jim Kuna, I'm pronouncing that right, hoisted the BLM flag on his own. Well, that kind of kicked off a little controversy, and a couple groups have since gotten involved. We mentioned the Barrington chapter of Rhode Island United Veterans Council, and then another group recently has joined in the fray, Rhode Island Coalition for Israel. There's been a lot of talk about how do we get the flags down. There's a meeting coming up next Monday, I believe, February 1st, to have this issue on the agenda. So with that as a backdrop, let's bring in our guests, and it's Paul Dukinos. He's president of United Veterans Council for the town of Barrington. Paul, welcome to In the Dugout.
Thank you. Thanks, Mike. Thanks for raising awareness on the situation and inviting us in to kind of give our pitch for our background, and so that we can voice our concerns to your audience.
Before we get into it, our dugout, I see you've got a cap on. What is your cap?
I've got Operation Desert Storm. I'm a veteran of Desert Storm. I served over 23 years on active duty and 3 years in the National Guard before coming on active duty. Retired in 2008. My last assignment was I was a professor of military science over at Providence College.
Wow, quite a background. Well, thank you for your service, Paul. We'll get back in a second. Let's also bring in Luann Pizzulo. I'm half Italian, so I think I said that right. Luann, yes, welcome. Welcome to In the Dugout, and I see you're donning a cap as well.
Well, I was told that you're a Red Sox fan, and you probably played for them, and so I had to borrow this, and someone delivered it in the snowstorm last night.
I put your head down a little so we can see it. Oh, there it is. It's a Red Sox. Yep. And here's my Red Sox ring, just in case nobody knows. In fact, on that topic, my former teammate Roger Clemens was not allowed, was not voted into the Baseball Hall of Fame because of his alleged and admitted steroid use. I don't know for how long you punish somebody for that. That's another issue. All right. So, Paul, welcome to In the Dugout. Luann, we'll get to you in a second. But Paul, let me ask you now. This flagpole, you guys sort of have rights to co-manage it. Is that correct?
Yeah. Before my time, I would say probably a couple decades ago, there was a plan to build this memorial to expand upon an existing rock that had a plaque dedicated to World War I, and to try and bring in all the wars together, all the conflicts together. So as part of that, they decided to move the flagpole, which was located out on the front slope, over to be positioned co-located with a memorial. That way it'd be all tied in together, and they wouldn't have
a veterans memorial.
Right. So the official town's Veterans Memorial also shares its flagpole with the town hall itself, and that's where the rub lies in that sense. And
basically, I'm going to show this sign, which I assume your group made here. Hold on, let me bring it up here. Keep politics off the pole. So I assume your overall message is you don't want to see any kind of political advertising on this Veterans Memorial and the town flagpole.
Right. Our concerns is it provides a slippery slope, and I feel kind of obligated to just go ahead and cite our official position before we go further.
We'll get that in a second. We'll get to that in a second. Okay. All right. No, but we promise you we're going to get to that. All right. Okay. Luann, you are with the Rhode Island Coalition for Israel.
I am.
Now, some of our viewers might have, what is your interest in this case, and why did your group, just at a high level, join forces with Paul's group, the Veterans Group, to raise awareness and to try to change this policy here in Barrington?
Well, Paul comes from a veteran's standpoint and a patriot, and I'm a patriot as well, born on the 4th of July. And
all right.
Yeah, and I'm also from the oldest 4th of July celebration town. So, but
Right,
my
okay.
affiliation with this and my concern is it comes from my heart as a Christian. And, you know, when I look at this and to stand up for what we believe and listen, this has been going over in my head all day long, and now I'm getting all forgetting what I was going to say.
That's all right. Well, first, before we go further, Rhode Island Coalition for Israel is a Christian and Jewish group, right?
Yes, yes, we work together. It's incredible. It's a wonderful thing that's happening, and I stand shoulder to shoulder with my Jewish brethren, my brothers and sisters of the Jewish faith. And as a Christian, I'm commanded to support the nation of Israel. So when I look at how BLM perceives themselves, one of the things that they reflect is their total support and for the destruction of the nation of Israel.
All right, so let me be clear. Your interest. We're going to get into some details in a minute, but if I could frame it, so your interest as a Christian and Jewish organization is that BLM has a animosity towards the state of Israel and the Jewish people.
Mm.
Fair enough?
Yeah, and as an American, you know, I mean, do I really want that to be waved on the flagpole? If they want to
Okay.
put it someplace.
Okay, got it. All right, so let's Paul, what is going to happen Monday? Monday, there's a town council meeting. As I understand it, there's a new both sides are putting in proposed language on how to change the flagpole policy for the town of Barrington. One in such a way that will allow it to say up, that's your opponents, and yours in such a way that would mean it would have to come down. Do I have that right?
Yeah, correct. Actually, we proposed this way back in October in an attempt at an earlier town meeting, just to kind of let's nip this in the bud before it becomes ridiculous and things escalate. Unfortunately, they punted. They waited for the next election and the new council to be seated. They were in the meantime, the flag stayed flying through all this time. Then we've been bumped off the agenda a couple times, and then last month. One of the council members came up with his own policy, which pretty much validates and documents the current status quo that they've got.
All right, we'll get to that in a second. I brought this image up right now, but I think, would it be safe to say that you'd like to emulate what the town of Warren does? As very straightforward, what can fly, only these flags can fly, and basically without saying it, it eliminates any other flag from being able to fly on the official town pole. Is that correct? Is that the other you're emulating?
The other towns in East Bay saw the light and saw the futility of their fool's errand, and they decided to just nip this in the bud. And they adopted a policy that basically says the only flags that can be flown on government property underneath the American flag is the state of Rhode Island, the town flag, the official town flag, and the MIA POW flag, which is authorized by federal law and actually required by federal law to be flown on all federal facilities. Now, it doesn't have to be flown on a town one, but seeing as ours is co-located with the Veterans Memorial, it seems appropriate that we would have a POW MIA flag flying there.
All right. Let's go to Luann. Luann, in a media release, at least in the draft I have, you made some pretty bold statements. I'd like to read it to you and then have you comment. The Black Lives, you were quoted as an East Bay resident and Rhode Island Coalition for Israel founding board member, points out, quote, the Black Lives Matter movement incites Jew hatred. It promotes the blood libel that Israel is responsible for American police brutality against minorities. It pushes the lie that Israel is an apartheid state. It says that the Jewish people oppress people of color. Flying their flag, Black Lives Matter, is an attack on the Jewish people. Those are some really strong words, Luann.
Right. But there is a blood libel that goes out there. It has been associated with the violence, and you know, blood libel started thousands of years ago when the Jews were accused of sacrificing babies in their rituals.
So
So, you
blood
know,
libel, what do you mean by blood libel?
blood libel is, well, when I first got to understand what that meant, it was Israel was accused of taking babies, primarily Christian babies, and sacrificing them and using their blood in sacrifices. So
Wow.
when you're talking about accused, which is not the case, this is not the case.
And Black Lives
And
Matter has supported this claim?
they have accused Israel of blood libel in different situations. Now, you just quoted the one about the violence, promoting violence in how did you state it? I forgot. But you know, there's a lot of accusations, and they're not true, and it's very disparaging, you know, on the nation of Israel.
Well, here's a report we're looking at. You know, I got to admit, I personally am not aware of that Black Lives Matter antipathy towards Israel, but I did do a quick, you know, search on the internet, and I did find this, you know, that there was a linkage of Black Lives Matter to the anti-BDS movement, or to, yeah, anti-Semitic BDS movement, which calls for boycott and divestment, and I forget what the S stands for. Sanctions against Israel and anti-Israeli concern. So let me just ask this without you giving me detail. Are you comfortable that the link in the words you said can be backed up if we looked it up, that there is that linkage between BLM and anti-Semitism?
Well, if you would just look at their actions, you know, when you support the destruction of the nation of Israel economically through BDS, that is anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I don't want to get into a fight with anybody, but I love Israel. I love my Black brothers and sisters. I'm a Christian, and my heart is to come here, not to fight, but to express a different view. You know, all of us look at something through different eyes. And now, when you look at Paul, he's speaking on behalf of the vets. I'm here to speak on behalf of my Christianity and my Jewish brethren.
All right, excellent, good point.
That's basically where I'm coming from.
I want to go back, Paul. I want you to look at this, because this is something that I think, and then we'll get Luann's comment, it's absolutely absurd. Let me ask you this. You're a veteran who served your country. You put your life at risk defending our freedoms, and included in our freedoms is our First Amendment right of speech. Did you go there to protect government speech? Did you go risk your life for government speech?
Yeah, that's a cop-out. What they've done there is they're trying to get around having to honor the First Amendment rights of anyone else who wants to fly a banner from that pole. Part of our concern was the slippery slope.
So before you go on, this little excerpt here is from where, Paul? Before you explain, this is a ordinance that their side is going to put forward Monday night?
Right. Yeah, this is the one they're proposing under Town Councilman Jacob Breyer, who's probably the most progressive on the board.
All right, we're going to go through those council people in a minute. So they're saying that municipal flagpoles are a form of government speech, and the town, through which town council has a sole discretion to exercise that government speech. Isn't government the people? And aren't you the people saying, no, we don't want that kind of speech?
Yeah, they've determined themselves to be the arbiters of what is appropriate and what isn't appropriate. And their judgment is to be questioned based on what they've done in the recent actions in flying the BLM flag in itself. This BLM is a political organization. They're a movement, although they're an umbrella group for a wide variety of local and national affiliates. Bottom line is they've raised billions of dollars. They take that money and they put it towards progressive causes. and support progressive candidates. And we have essentially given them free advertising and endorsement by our town on our flagpole since September, through the elections, through the 2020 elections, where the town hall itself was early voting polling place. So,
Luann, I think if we were to raise your anti-Semitic concerns up to a higher level, would it be fair to say that this flag for certain, and I think, Paul, what you're saying, any flag, any political symbol
Right.
is divisive? Obviously, Paul, you've yourself admitted publicly that, of course, Black Lives Matter, but it's still a lot of people don't support the Black Lives Matter movement. So why,
Right.
government should be for all the people, right? So I want to ask Luann this: government for all the people, but putting up a flag that only represents some of the people is divisive on its own, right? Right, Luann?
I would say so, but I want to make something clear. I have the utmost love and respect of Black people. This is not about whether Black lives matter. They most certainly do, without a doubt. And this has got nothing to do with the color of a person's skin. But if you're going to raise the Black Lives flag underneath the American flag, with much blood has been shed for just us being able to do what we're doing right now, I'd like to fly a flag that says, "Stop the slaughter of the unborn and the womb." But would I be allowed to do something like that? There are some issues that you can't do. You can, however, but is it in the interest of all people?
All right, we only have a few minutes left, so let's get down to what specifically is the call to action. But first, I want to do this. So the town manager is Jim Kuna. Correct me if I'm wrong, jump in. If not, I'm going to move forward. He unilaterally, on his own, without the town council's approval, put that flag up. Is that correct?
That's correct. And then in the next council meeting, 5-0, the council voted to keep it up.
Okay, those council members are Michael Carroll, president, Robert Hum, vice president, Jacob Breyer, Annalise Conway, and Carl Kustel.
Yes,
Do
that's
you
correct.
you're gonna propose a Warren type flag policy?
Or to
What
to
is
amend
your
what they're
call to
proposing.
action? Yeah, what is your call to action? So anyone watching right now can do to help you on Monday, February 1st meeting.
Well, to go to the town webpage, find the agenda. There is a Zoom link to Zoom into the meeting, which will start at 7 p.m. And when this comes up as an agenda item, to have their voices heard and express their support for the amendments that we're proposing in the flag policy, which would be to only allow for those 3 stated flags that I mentioned to be flown from the pole. No other discretion, not the town manager, not the town council. If they want to create a separate First Amendment flagpole at another location, that's up to them. But as far as what we're concerned, this is kind of, this just keeps anyone from, they can't be all things to all people. It keeps different groups or radical groups from coming and wanting to have their flag flown. Keeps the town out of trouble. It prevents future ACLU lawsuits. It's just good government, good policy, and it's appropriate.
Yeah, and I think your sign says it all. All right, we're going to have the final question go to Luann. Now, so I know that your group, Paul, was recently joined by a statewide group like Rhode Island Coalition for Israel. I'd like to announce today that our center is going to join in this fight too, to keep politics off the pole. We've created a page, rifreedom.org/Barrington Flag. And Luann, I want you to tell listeners why they should sign this petition and why they should tell their friends to sign this petition, because what it does when they sign the petition, it's going to send an email to the town manager and those 5 council members telling them, please keep the politics off the pole. A final word to you, Luann. Why should people sign this petition?
But just for that exact reason, keeping the politics off the pole. Every organization could come and want to put up a flag, but this is the flag of America. This is the flag that a lot of blood has been shed for our freedoms. And, you know, support that, support America, support our flag. We've seen over this past year what's been going on in this country, and it's heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking to see. So yeah, I totally encourage it 100%. Support this movement.
Thank you, Luann. Thank you, Paul. We wish you good luck Monday night. Please, you know, we'll have you back on. Let us know what happened. Okay, we'll have you back on. But in the meantime, please, your group, and again, to listeners, rifreedom.org/Barrington Flag. Sign this petition. Send a message to the town council members to keep the politics off the pole. That's a great
Stand
slogan.
up and be counted. Stand
up and be counted.
Amen.
I heard someone on a national show today say, little things can make a big difference. And it's a little
Yes,
thing
they
to
do.
sign this. Please do it. Paul and Luann, thank you very much for
Appreciate
joining
it.
us.
Thank you. Thank you.
You know, again, folks, just to wrap that up, it's not a question of the issue, whether you agree with Black Lives Matter as a statement, whether you agree with them as an organization. It's political. The American flag, town flagpole, certainly veterans memorials should be something that all of us are proud of. Should be something that represents the values that all of us believe. As soon as you put up one political message, you've instantly divided people. You've instantly made a whole bunch of people in your town, in your country, unhappy. And now we've got a controversy. We'll see if cooler heads prevail, or if just this political left. You know, the opposite of the cancel culture. They cancel anything that disagrees with them is to promote and give special exceptions to those that the government officials agree with. That's what socialism is. That's what totalitarian is. We crush those or cancel those against us. And no matter how hypocritical, no matter how untraditional, no matter how stupid it is, how divisive it is, we're going to move forward with our agenda. This is what totalitarianism is. This is what socialism is. And this is what far, far too many public officials have fallen prey to. Okay, we're going to move on to a really sensitive topic. It shouldn't be sensitive. It should be common sense, as you'll hear. But I want to welcome to the show Representative Ramon Perez. Ramon, welcome to In the Dugout.
Hey, good to see you again.
Ramon, yeah, thank you. Now I see you follow the request, and you've got a cap on. What does your cap say?
This is just to cover my little bald head that's coming lately.
Oh, so it's just by accident.
Just by accident.
Oh, good. We always wear caps In the Dugout, so it's good that you're doing that. All right, Ramon, you are the District 13, or Representative Perez, I should call you. You are the state representative from District 13, which I think covers Providence and Johnston. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now you are in your second term, but you were off. You were elected in 2016, served for 2 years. You were defeated in 2018, and you were out for 2 years, but now you're back in for another 2-year term. So congratulations on your recent win. Now you are a Democrat, but based on what I know about you and what I see with this bill you sponsored, you're probably not on the far left progressive side. So how would you define yourself, first of all, as a Democrat, a moderate Democrat? How do you describe yourself?
Conservative.
Conservative Democrat. Okay, wow, we don't hear that too often anymore. Okay, you put in House Bill, which I'm going to share here, 5037. Here it is right now. There you are as the sponsor. And basically, it's called the Born Alive Infant Protection Act. If we scroll to the end, this act would enact Born Alive, and it would obligations of medical personnel in circumstances. Representative Perez, what actions of doctors and medical personnel would this required to happen and in what circumstances?
Okay, it's some personal experience that I have with my wife. 4 years ago, my wife was going to have miscarriage. We went to the hospital. The baby got to be born alive, and the doctor, they refused to hold the baby. And
Wait a minute, the baby was born alive, breathing.
yes. And I asked the doctor do something, and you know what was the answer? They say because the baby wasn't intention to be an abortion, there's nothing to do.
Wait a minute, say that again, because the baby wasn't what?
They say because the baby wasn't an intention to be an abortion. That means if my wife asked to have an abortion, they will help her.
Wait a minute.
Well, because
So they're saying that if the baby survived an abortion, they would have helped it, but if it survives a miscarriage of sort, they're not going to help it.
Exactly.
Was it a baby boy or baby girl?
Baby boy.
And did your son have a name?
Anthony. Because the funny thing is we got death certificate and we got a birth certificate. And my wife asked, I had to see my baby gasping from air for almost 30, 40 minutes. And they just stand there and they refuse to help the baby.
So Anthony was born alive, breathing, gasping for air. You're in a hospital?
Rhode Island Hospital, women and infants.
With all kinds of life-saving equipment around.
Yes, and they just refuse because they say the baby wasn't intended to be an abortion. And I even asked, okay, if some woman come here and ask for an abortion, you will help them? Yes. Oh, but my wife choice had to have the baby, but you refuse to help her.
Rep Perez, I'm so sorry for you. I mean, this is unbelievable that this happens in America.
And the funny thing is that after that happened, I learned that happened more often than what people think. And it's already a federal.
Absolutely no help at all was given to this baby.
Nothing. They just.
Were you and your wife able to at least hold Anthony?
They give it to you. You can hold it, but you really are more in distress seeing your baby trying to get air, and they just standing 6, 7 doctors in there, nurses. No, we don't going to do nothing because it's going to be more painful. What do you mean it's going to be more painful? If you say that he's dying, why you don't try to help him? Because
I mean, this is cruel. It's inhumane. It's barbaric. And I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry it happened to you.
Thank you. Some people are going to say it's not an abortion bill. It's not a pro-choice bill. Well, you can say pro-choice in both sides, because if some woman go to the choice of having an abortion and you help them, what happened with the choice that my wife made to have the baby?
All right, so let's talk about your bill. All right, so now we know why you put this bill forward. What does your bill say has to happen if something similar to what happened with your family and Anthony happens in the future?
It's a federal statute already saying that if a woman going to the intent of having an abortion, but the baby survive, you have to help that baby and you have to treat them like a human and not just let it die. That happened before that federal statute passed. A baby came alive, not intended to have it, the couple, and they just leave it in one.
So would your bill cover all born alive births, whether it was intended for an abortion or not?
Yes. You have to treat that baby. You can't just let it die like that.
So they have to make every effort to save that baby.
Yes.
Wow. I noticed on the bill, now, we had an abortion vote 2 years ago almost in this state, a very divisive, controversial abortion bill that ended up being passed, but it was very close. You weren't in session then, would you have voted for that abortion bill 2 years ago?
Never.
And now, but the reason I bring that up is that means there are a lot of other members in the House who voted against that bill. Why don't you have any other co-sponsors for this?
Well, so far, what we've been told is because the COVID-19 don't go around trying to collect signature. They told me leave it at the speaker office, and the people can go there to sign on it. So
All right, and yeah, what rep, just to explain a little further, yeah, it is common, the sponsor gets the bill, physically walks it around to other, in your case, representatives, and they'll sign on to it, and then you'll resubmit the bill and they'll be listed officially as the bill sponsor. So because of COVID, you can't physically walk around like you could in years past. Do you expect one way or another to have additional bill sponsors, one way or the other? Co-sponsors?
Let me tell you, no, the funny thing is I went to session Thursday, and everybody was doing the thing that we don't supposed to do.
Oh, they were walking around.
Yeah, they were walking around, and I say, hey, how this happened? I've been told to leave it at the speaker office. Now I see everybody going around here. But I already submit my bill to the speaker office. So in order to me to get signatures now, I have to tell the people, okay, go to the speaker office there. I don't think they don't want to lose time going there.
All right.
You have to corner them and sign
All right, but still, do you think eventually you'll have other co-sponsors for this?
Yeah, I already spoke to a few of
Okay.
them, and they
Okay.
say they're gonna go to do it.
All right, this bill has been sent to the House Judiciary Committee chaired by, I think, Robert Craven, if I'm correct. Is that correct?
Yep.
Do you have any indication from him or from other committee members whether this bill will actually receive a hearing?
The bill gonna get a hearing.
Okay,
That's for sure.
okay,
The outcome, I can tell you now.
okay.
Too early to say anything yet.
All right, and then my last question. I assume, have you spoken with people at Rhode Island Right to Life or any of the other pro-life groups in the
After
state
that, to Brad Bracy.
Bart
He
Bracy, yeah,
helped
Rhode
me-
Island Right to Life?
Yeah, he helped me draft the bill 4 years ago. And essentially, I put the same bill now.
Oh, this bill went in 4 years ago.
Yes.
What happened to it then?
Well, her for further study.
Held for further study. It did have a hearing?
Yes.
Hmm.
But
Do you have any expectation that the bill will move further this time?
essentially, when they say help for further study, it's just saying that don't want to go nowhere.
Right.
At least I talked to the speaker before I submit my bill, and I say that that's going to be my priority this year. So
Okay.
I'm hoping,
And what did Speaker Shikarchi say?
he don't commit. I can say that he just told me, Ramon, put your priority and let's see what we can do. But the speaker now he's really a good listener. He's always had an open door to. So I'm hoping that I can get it.
Ramon Perez, Representative Perez, District 13, self-described conservative Democrat. Not many of those around anymore. Thank you for your courage. And I'm so sorry for the horror of the loss of your son.
Thank
And
you.
we wish you good luck, and we will invite you back to let us know when the bill's up for a hearing and how we might help you with this. So
I
can we
hope
have
to
you
see
back
you
on the
there.
show?
Hope to see you there.
All right. Representative Ramon Perez, thank you for being in the dugout.
Thank
today.
you.
Wow. Folks, it's just another example of Never Neverland that we're going to keep saying that theme. Everything is upside down. I mean, this Black Lives Matter flag, again, you can agree or disagree with Black Lives Matter, but it doesn't belong on a town flagpole, especially doesn't belong on a flagpole at a veterans memorial. And now babies born alive in hospitals with millions of dollars of technology and capacity, and they just cruelly sit there and have the parents watch the baby gasping for air breathe its last breath. How does this happen in our state? How does this happen in America? How has everything become upside down? How has the woke culture? I mean, if this is woke culture, And please keep me asleep. These aren't woke people, and I'll say it again. These are people hypnotized, brainwashed by who I don't know, but by this fantasy world, brainwashed, hypnotized. And it's killing our state and it's killing our country. Tomorrow, again, we'll go through our TCI gas tax report and show you the great harm it's going to do to our economy. We'll also have the second half of our show with Dr. Andrew Boston on all things COVID-19. In the dugout,